Welcome to No Skinny Cooks. Today I'll be making one of my favorite breads. This is a crusty Italian loaf. This recipe is from a great book, The King Arthur Baker's Companion. I just love the flavor of this bread. It always amazes me how simple flour, water, salt, and yeast can combine in so many wonderful ways. For this bread, we need to start the evening prior, about 12 to 16 hours before you're ready to make the dough. We're going to make something the Italians call a biga. I think I'm saying that right. It's basically a type of starter. In this case, it's going to be fairly wet. Add 2 cups of bread flour, a quarter teaspoon of yeast, and a cup of water and mix it really well. Now, depending on your area, you may need to adjust the amount of water. I added about a tablespoon more. Cover it with plastic wrap and then set it aside for later. Your biga will have grown quite a bit overnight, more than doubled in size, and as you can see, it will be quite full of bubbles. So the ingredients you'll need are really simple. In addition to the biga, you'll want 2.5 cups of flour, a half cup of water, 1.5 teaspoons of salt, 2 teaspoons of yeast, and I'm also adding 2 teaspoons of bread improver. It's totally optional, but I find it helps make my bread stay fresh a little longer. I'll add a link to that below. Now we're ready to make the dough. First, mix the half cup of water with your biga, stirring it really well, trying to get it as smooth as possible. Now this is going to be really sticky stuff, so you're going to really have to work at this. Now mix your dry ingredients. You'll want to reserve a half a cup of this flour. You may or may not need it, depending on the humidity in your area. So what you're going to do is you're going to whisk the 2 cups of flour, the salt, and the yeast together. Now it's time to start mixing. I'm using my Nutrimel Artiste for this, as it's a really fantastic mixer for heavy bread dough. Add your biga and the dry ingredients, and then let the mixer run until you have a cohesive dough. You could probably use the mixer until the dough was completely done and looked good, but I like to do some kneading by hand. So take some of that reserve flour, sprinkle it on your work surface to keep the dough from sticking, and knead it for a bit. You'll know it's done when you have a nice, smooth, satiny dough. Now place your dough in an oiled container. I used olive oil. You're going to be putting it in here for a really long 90-minute rise. About an hour into the rise, put your oven rack in the middle and preheat to 425 degrees. But you're going to be doing something a bit different with this dough. At the 30 and 60 minute marks, take the dough and stretch it. Not so much that it breaks, but as much as you can. Rotate the container 180 degrees, stretch it again, then rotate it 90 degrees and give it another stretch. Cover it and let it rise for another 30 minutes when you'll repeat the stretching process. This stretching helps develop the gluten in the dough and gives the bread a better structure. Sprinkle some of your reserve flour on your work surface, then dump out the proof dough and give it a rough shape. You want to cut it into 2 roughly even halves using your bench knife. We're going to make 2 braided loaves. What I like to do is leave one end connected and cut the dough into 3 strands. Then I braid these strands together, tucking the ends under. Give the edges a bit of a tuck as well, just to tighten the dough up a little bit. Transfer the finished braid onto a parchment or silicone-lined baking sheet. Now you're ready for the second proof. Let the dough rise at room temperature for 60 to 90 minutes until it's about doubled, and it'll be very puffy looking. Now comes one of my favorite parts. Mix a couple teaspoons of water with an egg white and then brush the loaves. Then liberally sprinkle them with sesame seeds. I love the flavor sesame gives to this loaf, and I use a mix of white and black sesame seeds because the black seeds have a lot more flavor. Place the loaves in a 425-degree oven for 25 to 35 minutes, or until they're golden brown and the center of the bread is at about 190 degrees. And we're done. Now comes the hard part, waiting for the bread to cool enough to slice it and eat it. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments if you give this one a try. As always, please, if you like what you see and you want to see more of it, like and subscribe to my channel. Hit the notify button so you know when new content's being added. Have a great day.